Hello and welcome to the OK Takes podcast. I am Matt, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow capo Edward. As of 8:43 p.m. West Coast time, the Chiefs are officially back. They absolutely curb stomped the Raiders, so we're gonna recap that game. And then after that, we recorded recaps of the morning and afternoon slate, so we'll get into that after this little Chiefs Raiders recap. But wow. I think I said the Chiefs are back no less than 15 times, and I'll probably say it no less than 15 times while we're going throughout the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to start by saying I've got the podcasting equivalent of a spray. I've had a cold the last few days, so if I'm sniffing or whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing cocaine. I'm sniffing because I know your mind would go straight to doing cocaine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have a big drug problem on that. I mean, if there's anybody on the episode to do cocaine, I think it would be you.
Yeah. Just want to make sure people know that that's not what's going on. But yeah, I mean, Chiefs are back, and boy, did they want to prove it.
Yeah, I want to start. I think we're going to go into the game, but my biggest provement moment was Harrison Butker throwing an absolute laser on fourth down on a punt attempt that we all knew that was going to get punted away. I mean, they were up by like three or four scores. And okay, just humdy hum, it's going to be another punt and the game will just kind of wait or it will end itself. But this motherfucker steps back and throws an absolute dime, which is them just doing the it dance, the Pennywise dance from it with the L on their forehead.
Yeah. That was gutsy by Andy Reid there. I definitely think the trying to tell the world something.
Yeah. I think Cam already said, okay, the I'm back. You can't really meme something that's already going to get memed a bunch on the same day, but the I'm back meme from Cam should only be applied to this game out of all the games in the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, the Chiefs look like the Chiefs we know from the last 2 years, 3 years. Mahomes was throwing with his left hand and completing passes again. So, I mean, from that moment right there, even though it was close, I knew the Chiefs were back. As soon as Mahomes completed a pass with his left hand, I was like, here we go.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the games are just like the Chiefs are back to doing stupid shit like that. Mahomes could throw balls over the back of his or like behind and with two hands, and you could just start granny passing balls all over the place and be like, it makes sense. And then Andy Reid could start calling out weird formations. I'll be like, oh, that also makes sense. Like he had 8-string tight end running a quarterback sneak.
Yeah, there was a play down in the red zone where they lined up the fullback in like a trips like formation out wide, and I was like, what's going on? I was like, Andy Reid is literally just closing his eyes and reaching his hand into his bag of tricks.
Mm-hmm. And so now was before like the bag of tricks was just random things that he was spelling out, just like a mad scientist. Like we were saying, like the idiot mad scientist that thinks he's on the cusp of solving cancer, but in reality, he's just what's his face? Oh my God, 21 Jump Street. Come on, fill me in. Line. Channing Tatum. He's just Channing Tatum writing fours all over the board in 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, I was confused at who you wanted. I mean, there's so many actors in that movie. I could have named anyone.
Well, yeah, okay, because now the Chiefs are like going through that crazy drug trip that they're having where everything's melting and it's like
ice cream, Rob Riggle's head.
Yeah, it's like a mushroom trip on mushrooms.
Exactly. The Chiefs are. Yeah, I mean they're back. Like there's no other way to explain it.
Yeah, and honestly, there's something we need to solve that happened during the field is Scissors Gate.
Yes, because at first Twitter was reporting it as a fork, but I had to further investigation and it came away that it indeed is scissors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's anybody that's been around like athletic tape and has been on in like a training room settings where everybody's getting taped up that like you could spot those scissors from a mile away. Now, my first thought, and it might not be a pleasant one, is that I was like, okay, well, I guess Henry Ruggs left a shank at the stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
So yes, the scissors was very funny because like, okay, well, this is actually very on brand with the Raiders because I think there's about half the population of Raiders fans that would be in favor of them using scissors to stab linemen to get a head start.
I was gonna say they were probably ready to use those on their offensive line.
Or against their own team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Do you
against their own
actually
offensive line.
do you think the scissors were there to suggest Derek Carr that he actually has a toupee?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That was a shot at Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fan message. Our QB cannot win games with a toupee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're too close in proximity to not be correlated.
Yeah, it lines up perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let's go. Okay, so the Chiefs are officially back. Okay, so now I'm also very confused on what the Raiders are. So are the Raiders just done? I don't really know what to gauge from this because they looked really bad against the Giants. Chiefs looked very bad against the Giants as well. But now I'm like, okay, well, I guess the Chiefs are back. I just don't know what to make of the Raiders now. And I'm very confused because I just know, do I bet on the Raiders or do I not? And so far, especially after the Deshaun Jackson fumble, I don't want to bet on the Raiders.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are. It's hard to say they're done, like done from even maybe making a wild card spot, but they're done from being contenders, I think for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you think. I mean, we were looking at them early on as possible contenders to win their division. And now, right now, they're the 8th seed. They're not even a wild card team. So
Yeah, because
they're weird right now.
Well, I mean, they get on prime time and they shit the bed. It's like they got killed by the Chargers that month. They got killed by the Chargers that Monday night game. And we're like, okay, so I guess the Raiders maybe aren't that real, but then they won a couple games after that, but now lost to the Giants, who really aren't that good. Or at least I don't think they're that good, not playoff worthy good. And then they also get embarrassed by the Chiefs. So now it's like, okay, well, I hate to say it. Now, what he did was wrong, but like, yeah, they're definitely missing Henry Ruggs. And you can't, and he shows that, like, yeah, you can't replace Henry Ruggs with a 35-year-old Deshaun Jackson, who once again doesn't know how to reach the end zone without fumbling.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, and this is a crucial stretch for them. They have a tough stretch coming up, but yeah, they're really showing how much they miss Henry Ruggs, and that Deshaun Jackson fumble was bad.
Yeah, and even like the rushing attack is very strange as well. It's like Derek Carr had the most rushing yards on the team. Derek Carr had 3 carries for 18 yards. Kenyon Drake had 4 carries for 16 yards. And Josh Jacobs had 7 carries for 16 yards. So there's actually no run attack whatsoever. And there was opportunities in the first half to build a running game because it was close. And they got it. And yeah, the score was 17-14 after the Raiders opened up the second half with the touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to the Chiefs defense. They really kept Darren Waller at bay. He 4 catches for 20 yards, but yeah, they needed to find a way to get the run game going, and they just couldn't do it. And it was a tight game there for a minute, and then all of a sudden, at the blink of an eye, Chiefs were up by 20.
Yeah, it was so, I mean, it was instantaneous. It was literally like, this is kind of like the light switch offense, kind of like the Warriors. I think in a lot of different regards, the Warriors and Chiefs are synonymous, but it's just kind of the light switch thing where all it takes is just hitting one button or flicking a light switch and boom, there's the lead. You're up by 30 points or 3 possessions.
Yeah, exactly. The Chiefs they can turn it on quick. And when they turn it on, there's no stopping it. Like, they went from 17-14 to ending up being 41-14. Like,
wow.
Allow a point the rest of the way.
Or don't score 24.
It was interesting.
Yeah. My last takeaway from the Chiefs game is that I think Tyreek Hill is so fast that Pat Mahomes doesn't know how to adjust to other receivers, because he never really maybe actually he had a couple overthrows to Tyreek, but it feels like the only time he misses receivers is by overthrowing them. So I think he's not ready. You just can't adjust for that. Like, yeah, Byron Pringle is fast, but the difference between Tyreek Hill and Byron Pringle is still enough to be like, yeah, you have to adjust for their speed.
Oh yeah, I mean, but one thing I do want to say Mahomes did a really good job of spreading the wealth tonight. Like just looking at their
Yeah.
receiving, Tyreek Hill had 7 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was third on the team in receiving yards. Kelsey had 8 for 119, and Darrell Williams had 9 for 101. And even Pringle had 46 yards, which is nothing to be ashamed of. 4 for 46 with a touchdown. So they finally were able to unlock all the weapons and really make the Raiders secondary look just bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Mahomes was carving
Mhm.
for sure.
Yes, there we go. That is Sunday Night Football recap. All right, so right now here is the morning and afternoon slate. Boom. All right, so we are going to start with the Browns and Patriots. Wow. Okay, maybe you're a little bit wrong on the Baker take, maybe just a little.
Yeah, ugly. I mean, wow. There's no other way to put it. I feel like ugly is the best word to describe the Browns.
I was going to save my ugly for the line Steelers when we get into that. So I'll just say this was an all-out shit pumping, throttling, whatever you want to call it.
Well, in this instance, I feel like ugly, there's different types of ugly, like there's an ugly where someone just gets beat down. And then there's an ugly where two kind of iffy teams play each other and it, spoiler alert, ends in a tie. But yeah, you're right. It was just shit pumping.
Yeah. No, I guess, yeah, this was a good example of the shit pumping ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I mean, there's so many different things in this game, but I want to start with Baker. And all right. So I know I just want to take a couple steps back, my Baker take of if it was him or OPJ that made the Browns what they were, because Baker was very bad today. He started 3 for 8 for 21 yards and ended with just over 100 yards of offense. It was very gross. It was a very gross game for him. But here's the thing. Don't go just like last week saying that it was all OBJ's fault or all Baker's fault. Well, we have to realize what happened this game. There was no Chunt, there was no Nick Chubb, and there was no Kareem Hunt. So you have to realize that does play a factor.
Yeah. And Chubb is I believe I said the most important player on the team. And I think when they don't have him, they're kind of a bad team.
And it's weird though, because I don't even know if they're a bad team or not, because they completely ran away from what they were doing at the beginning of the game. And like because their strength might be their O line, and like Chubb could be a byproduct of their O line. Like he could probably still get 1,000 yards on majority of teams in the NFL. But like this O line came out firing. So I made the joke that like you could put Trent Richardson behind like Miles Teller. And then, yeah, so Trent Richardson, even though he literally did nothing in the NFL, I think at most got like 500 yards. Like, no, this guy could be a first team, because the Browns' first drive, I mean, it was pure smash mouth. It was perfect. It was exactly what you were expecting the Browns to draw up. And they went right down the field. It was like 84 yards, 15 plays, something crazy like that to begin the game. And D'Ernest Johnson was cooking.
Yeah. 84 yards. And then the Patriots followed that up with 15 plays, 83 yards, and 9.5-minute drive. And that it's like, wow, this is going to be a gritty, like low scoring kind of game where it's like the winner, like who's going to win in the trenches is going to win. But then the Patriots did that 10-minute drive. And then 3 plays later, the Browns threw a pick. That's when I knew. I was like, Patriots -2.5 is good for me. And it did. So
yeah. No, you're on the right side of history.
Yeah. So I squeaked by. 2.5. I squeaked by.
Unfortunately, I had the under, and that was atrocious. But like going back to that interception, I think that was a great time where we saw like it was great. It was only a 3-play drive, yada yada. But you never want to be if you're the Brown or if you're Kevin Stefanski, you want to be accused of running the ball too much and not having Baker throw out a shotgun, because all their success in the first drive came with Baker right behind the center and handing off and letting the O-line and D'Ernest Johnson do his thing. And he wasn't forced to make big throws. And Baker was and like that's situation specifically, Baker was trying to do way too much. I don't know if the pick was hilarious because it was like him trying to throw a quarter in a jukebox from a mile away.
Yeah, and I think that's been a part of Baker's problem, right? Trying to do too much. And like we've alluded to before, it worked in OU. It worked at OU to a certain extent, but stuff like that, like you said, trying to throw a quarter into a jukebox, that's not going to work in the NFL.
No, especially against the Patriots secondary. I mean, this is what we're seeing, one of the best in the leagues, where somehow you lose the guy that won a defensive player of the year or 2 years removed from that, Stephon Gilmore, and then you get even better. And that's what we're seeing right now. Like McCourtney and then JC Jackson. It's like, holy shit. I mean, Baker probably could have thrown close to 5 or 6 picks today.
Yeah, I mean, this kills me to say it, but like the Patriots are back and they were gone for like 3 weeks. Like this defense, and Mac Jones is starting to get a little more comfortable. So it's really, yeah, you're right. I mean, Baker could have ended the game with 5 picks.
Yeah, that was literally my only knock on the Patriots defense, is that they're bad at catching interceptions.
Yeah, there were some butterfingers.
Yeah, and then Baker ended up getting hurt. It was on a sack by Matthew Judon, and honestly, it was such a, I don't even say it was a bad hit, but Baker looked so dead after, where he could have pointed to any bone or muscle on his body and say, this is what's wrong with me. I would have believed him. Like if he pointed to his right toe and said it was turf toe, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Or if he pointed to his neck and said he had the neck spasm because of it, I'll be like, okay, that also makes sense.
Yeah, and it ended up being, it was a knee injury, right? And
yeah,
do we know the severity of that yet?
So it was not that severe. I think he's good to come back last week, but then I saw that it was a different knee than the one he already hurt. So Baker is just doing everything he can to become Big Ben.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey, 2 knees are hurt and his non-throwing shoulder is hurt. So he's just trying to injure every part of his body. He's got all the bases covered.
No, he's literally it's like the combination of the images of Big Ben with the ice on both knees and his shoulder. And then I think Kobe just with every part of his body when he was on the bench, like towards the end of his career, with like literally ice anywhere that there was like he was covered more in ice than like his own skin that you could see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is the guy from SpongeBob who every morning he wakes up, he breaks his arms, and every night when he goes to sleep, he breaks his legs.
His bones are made out of glass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, poor Baker. Tough situation. I'm not gonna lie, it's tough.
Yeah,
it was tough.
It is. All jokes aside, it was tough.
Yeah, it's ugly to see. Case Keenum got in, and first 2 plays that he was in, he got sacked. That was great to see.
Yeah, that fans were closing.
Yeah. All right.
If they weren't already, it was 31-7 at point.
Yeah, no, it was pretty close to being over, and then that just made it more funny. That was what turned it ugly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It went from sad to ugly.
Anytime your starter gets hurt and Case Keenum has to go in, that's when it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, you're allowed one good Case Keenum game, and that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. No more, no less.
Like the break glass in case of emergency. Well, that's it. You don't get to break the glass again.
Yeah. They're not going to rebuild the glass just for you to break it again. That's it. You get one shot.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to some Mac Jones talk. So in the first half, and mind you, I didn't even realize this heading in, but the Browns had the number 3 defense in the NFL. In the first half, he went 13 of 15 for 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 143.5 QB rating. Oh my God. And I tweeted out, but it's kind of the joke of this whole season, he was game manager. And then today he took the next step and now he's upgraded to gunslinger.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm all in on Mac Jones now. And like, it's weird because I've always hated the Patriots, but I'm at the point where I kind of don't. And I think it's because the Tom Brady aura is gone. So I like Mac Jones. I like what I've seen from him these last, with the Patriots winning, and he looked really good today. Yeah, like he's really starting to come around.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I have 2 guilty pleasures in sports. One of them is Michael Jordan. I love Michael Jordan. The other one is Tom Brady and the Bill Belichick combination.
I feel like
Now,
Michael Jordan's not a guilty pleasure.
I mean, well, it depends if it's like rooting for the dynasties.
Yeah, I guess.
Depends how you feel on that.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know. I feel like you do kind of ask for that. I don't know. It is a little bit of a guilty pleasure when you root for the guy that always wins.
Yeah, you're right.
If he's not in your own fan base.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's like if I rooted for Derek Jeter.
Yeah, and I mean I like Steph Curry, so I guess that counts.
That's a perfect example. Even though I mean Steph and we're not going to go full undisputed. Debating the goats. I'll cut that off right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So back to Mac Jones. But like what he brings to the Patriots, I don't like it. It is kind of fascinating to watch because Brady was somewhat of a game manager, and that's kind of like what Mac Jones is doing, kind of following the same footsteps of being very smart. And you don't have to be particularly well to play quarter, or you don't have to be particularly electric. Like Mac Jones isn't going to make Justin Fields type plays, but he knows how to be smart. And looking at the drives that they put together is pretty crazy because it's like here are the touchdown drives. It's 15 for 83, 11 for 99, 8 for 92, and 6 for 95. Like it's not as if the Browns were giving Mac Jones opportunity, like besides the interception, like always giving him opportunities around the doorstep of the end zone.
Yeah. And I think he gets a lot of his game management and football IQ probably coming from Alabama. I think that probably helps. And I think it's starting to become easy for him. The game is starting to slow down. And when a quarterback like him has a coach like Bill Belichick, who knows how far they can go.
Yeah. And honestly, if they don't make the playoffs this year and they're not able to make it, probably, I mean, I don't think they're going to catch up to the Bills, but there still is a very, very open chance for them to make it to the wild card. But if it doesn't end up working out, then you hopefully want to see a performance like this and like, okay, well, we could actually make that run next year. And so, yeah, I think they're in a perfect place.
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot, no matter what happens this year. Yeah. I think they'll probably get in, but if they don't, it's not like this would be considered a failure of a season.
No. I mean, obviously there's another little bit less than half of the season left. So we know that dumpster fires can happen very quickly, but it just doesn't look like that right now.
Yeah.
All right. And then last quick little note, Jacoby Myers caught his first career NFL touchdown. Coming into the day, Myers had the most receptions, 134, in receiving yards, 1,500 plus for a wide receiver in the NFL history without a touchdown catch. And he even threw 2 touchdown passes before ever catching one.
That's awesome. I know it's probably not awesome for him. He probably wishes he had gotten in the end zone before. But that's a really fascinating stat, and that's really happy finally was able to get one.
Yeah, there's one picture I saw from Matt Chatham, or Twitter account Matt Chatham, and it shows that like the offensive bench area was completely empty when Jacoby Myers scored the touchdown. So I mean, it's those little quick things are like, okay, well, this is actually happy when I'm in the middle of just motherfucking everybody because I'm losing the over or I'm losing the under.
Yeah, that's funny. That's kind of like the silent treatment in the MLB when you hit your first home run.
Exactly. Just fun little moments.
Yeah, it's cool. Just cool stuff. I like to see that. That reminds me that maybe the NFL isn't always the no fun league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, the problem is not the players.
True. Very true.
Actually, I mean, very funny if the Patriots got fined for not being on the bench.
That would be awesome. That would be really funny.
Yeah. All right. So then next game, we are moving on to the Lions and Steelers. So I have good news. The Lions officially won't go 0-17.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Lions. We know for a fact that they will not lose 17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of tying back to the pre-weekend episode or Sunday episode. So it was the big story of the week was Dan Campbell burying the tape. So here's the thing. bury the tapes. Now you don't know how to lose, but now you don't know how to win.
Yeah, you don't know how to lose and you don't know how to win. But I guess you would rather tie than lose, so you can't really say that this wasn't an improvement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with you guys just don't go. Yeah, who cares if you lose 16 games? Then other teams have lost 16 games. Your own franchise has lost 16 games. There's not much you could do with that. And if anything, it's a lot more cool. It's a lot cooler if they tie, because now you get to etch your name in history for a funny reason. I mean, it's bad, but at least there's another game that we can remember for being atrocious.
Yeah, and I mean, would it be better or worse if they went 0-16-1? Like at that point,
Better.
wouldn't you just rather go 0-17 than 0-16-1?
No. Kids, okay, one, that is hilarious, and it's better to be funny bad than just bad. And then two, as a wise man once said, a tie is like kissing your sister.
Hey, I don't know what they're doing in Detroit, but if that's what they want to do in Detroit, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that joke as somebody who doesn't have a sister, so it doesn't really mean anything to me. I can say, oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You have no, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very glad I can make you uncomfortable.
Hey, well, I don't have a brother, so I guess it could be like kissing your brother.
I guess if you're homosexual, then it would be a little bit more applicable.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so it's diverse. We have a diverse podcast.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say no. Fuck it. I'll go back on that. Going 0-16-1 is like kissing your stepsister, and we see that all the time in the media.
Oh yeah, that's like a meme now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, so I actually want to go down into overtime, really dig through the mud, because this was so ugly. Oh my God.
I love looking through the result of every drive in overtime because it's so funny. It's punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, fumble, and then the lateral attempt to end.
Yeah.
That's.
I guess we just got to go. We'll run through it, but we just have to touch on a couple of the moments because they were just one of the things you'll remember forever. You won't forget this game. Obviously there's tons and tons of games we forget, but this will not be one of them. Mm-hmm. So it started off with the Deontay Johnson fumble after a huge completion. It's like as soon as he broke a tackle and made that first step, you're like, okay, well, if he doesn't score right here, then this is where the Steelers will set up an easy field goal. Chris Boswell is pretty solid, and unless he is concussed again, then he should make it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Boswell's kind of reliable, and a big play like that is such a momentum swinger over to you in overtime, especially after your defense forces a punt. So to fumble in that spot's brutal.
But then a peanut punch comes out of nowhere from the Lions.
It's like neither team wanted to win. I think before the overtime started, they just agreed to tie.
Mm-hmm. It kind of felt like even before the game started.
Yeah, maybe even before the game started, Mike Tomlin and Dan Campbell had a come to Jesus moment where they agreed to tie.
I feel like it's closer to a make-a-wish moment for Dan Campbell.
Yeah, maybe. He needed it.
I think he kind of needed it. But oh my God. And then so the Lions peanut punch, they get the ball back, and then they get and now at this point, it's like they're getting all the calls because they end up getting a roughing the passer on after recovering the fumble, and like one of their first plays after, she's like, okay, well now they're in great field position. Literally all they have to do, because I mean when they peanut punched, it was already close to the 50-yard line, so you have to go like 20-30 more yards, and then boom, that's it. Couple first downs, you're good. And they also get a bullshit roughing the passer penalty, but I was like, okay, well this is just karma for what happened last week on Monday Night Football.
Well, and don't forget, on the very first play of the drive, Jared Goff threw a pick to Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it was a defensive holding call that offset the pick.
There we
So
go. Yes, yes.
so it was like what the hell is going on?
Mhm. So finally, the Lions eventually do enough and get within field goal range and get 5 yards past the green line, where it's like, okay, the kicker will be money from here
Yeah,
and forward. And we saw one of the worst kicks of all time.
that was you can only feel bad for the guy, right?
No, I feel bad for Lions fans. I don't feel bad for him. Honestly, the problem with that is if you're the kicker, I think you should just tell the broadcast team where your green line should be, because
Yeah, you should get the to tell them yourself. Don't let them hype you up.
mhm, yeah, let's give players power.
Oh yeah, give the players more power.
It's a players run league.
Not just in the taunting, but in where their green line is.
Jesus. So, I mean, just misses what looked like to be an easy money field goal. That would be it. The Lions get their first win. Dan Campbell is going to go down as one of the greatest 1 in 16 coaches of all time. And nope, they miss it. And it just, once again, you're like, how does this happen? And the Steelers then follow up the next play with a bad snap that goes 25 yards backwards.
Yeah, like we said earlier, there's ugly getting beat 45-7, and then there's ugly like this. And like, this was just brutal.
Yeah. And then eventually the Steelers battle their way back and get within field goal range. And just one more, all they need is one more play, and that'll be it. There's about 8 seconds left. And all you have to do is something quick to the sidelines, about 6 or 7 yards. And there you go. Chris Boswell will end it. And the Lions will then become the first team to go 0-17. And we saw another peanut punch. Pat Freiermuth fumbles the ball.
And Pat was kind of really being hyped up after having a good stretch of games here. And he goes and does this and costs the Steelers the win.
Oh my God. And it's
and
probably
cost the Lions a chance to go 0-17.
I would rather watch the Lions go 0-16-1 than 0. I mean, we already went down there, but yeah, it's really was the perfect way to end it. The fact that if this is the way it goes down for the Lions, that this will be the closest they get to a win, a perfect game for it. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, this would have just been right up the Lions' alley to win it, but it's also right up their alley to tie it or lose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess any outcome would have been like, oh yeah, that checks out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then let's talk a little bit of Jared Goff, because I think when Dan Campbell buried the tape, I think he wished he could have just buried Jared Goff.
I don't get it. Is he the worst?
I think he's the worst in the league.
That's not even what I was going to say. Is he the worst first overall time?
No, because he went to the Super Bowl.
I guess, but
into the playoffs multiple times.
But look at him now. And they weren't even good in that Super Bowl. What did they put up 3 points?
Doesn't matter. You went to the Super Bowl. You will never ever be as bad as Ryan Leaf or Jamarcus Russell.
That's true. That's
Sam
fair.
Bradford.
Fair, but he belongs within the top 10 of worst first overall.
No, I mean, talk about like an undisputed debate. I'll need to do my research on that one, but no, I mean, he's just not what we thought he would be. It's a very frustrating career. It's very bad.
And we all thought a change of scenery out of the bright lights of LA into a team like Detroit might help, but that clearly isn't.
No, it was very bad. It was very bad. Somehow at the end of the first quarter, he had -1 yards through the air. And then going into the last play of the game, because there was a crazy hook and ladder that the game ended on, but it didn't go anywhere really. Yeah, so going into there, he had less than 100 yards.
And I mean, yeah, like let's face it, without DeAndre Swift and the run game today, this game would have been over like long before overtime.
Yeah, no, this was perfect. Like for a minute there, it looked like the Lions were going to roll away with it.
Yeah, I mean, they looked good. I thought the minute I saw that Big Ben was out, I was like, okay, I want to go Lions money line, but I didn't end up doing it. And they went up 16-10 in the third quarter. I was like, holy shit, they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously didn't
And it
happen.
was literally all running game. Jared Goff had nothing to do with it. Uh,
No.
this is a funny, perfect stat. This is from Chris Burke of The Athletic. Goff is averaging 1.4 air yards per completion.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because if you
Was
look at
that
it,
just for this game or is that
yeah,
for the whole year?
just this game overall in the
Okay.
year heading into this game, I think it was like 3.7.
Brutal.
But because that's all you had to resort to. Because I feel bad because if the Lions didn't have to rely on if the Lions literally could have relied on anybody else other than Jared Goff, then I think they could have squeaked this out because all he could throw was screen passes at the end of the game. It was like those kids you see at Disneyland wearing the backpack leashes.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. I feel a change of scenery would have been good, but not a change to a team as bad as this. Like I truly think he is a product of the team around him.
It's tough. It's tough because then you also see some of his gameplay and you see him spin into sacks and then spin backwards for 5 more yards lost.
Yeah, and I mean that's fair, but it's not like we haven't seen QBs play bad. Like we saw today in the Packers Seahawks game. How many times were Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson in the end zone in that game, making dumb throws? So it's like even the best of the best QBs make stupid mistakes, but Jared Goff hasn't earned those mistakes. Like those guys have earned their chance. Like they've earned those mistakes made, and we won't be like, oh my God, he sucks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, Jared Goff, you just want to just poke him with a stick and says, "Can you do something now?"
Yeah, like that gif where he's like, come on, do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then a final note to wrap up the game. Mason Rudolph probably throws the softest passes I've ever seen in the world. It's like every ball is just attached to a parachute.
Yeah, what do you think his average speed is on throws?
Like a Vicente Padilla ethos.
One of those Zach Greinke, like 50 miles an hour, drops them in.
Mm-hmm. The soap bubble.
Just bread basket.
Yeah. It's like he's playing 3 flags up.
Oh, yeah. He's not going for just a quick spiral. He just is.
He throws such a nice spiral that he wants to look at it for as long as possible.
Yeah. That's got to be it.
Oh my God. The one thing about Mason Rudolph is that when you're in the same jersey as Big Ben and it's only a week removed, I think you're as fast as Mike Vick because my eyes are so used to seeing Big Ben.
Yeah, you've got that. And I think probably for the opposing team too, you've got the element of surprise.
Mm-hmm. And
they
then
just associate the Steelers quarterbacks with being a statue.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you also get the white guy part of you're deceptively fast.
Yeah, exactly.
You would never hear a black quarterback, somebody saying that he's deceptively fast. It's only for white quarterbacks.
Fast. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now next game, Saints Titans. Floor is yours.
I think it just comes down to how many times they shot themselves in the foot. There was that defensive pass interference that led to the late touchdown in the first half. There was obviously point conversion, but then that penalty pushed them back 5 yards, the false start, or illegal shift, I think it was. The under hit, which I said under 44.5, and it was 44. So shout out to the under. But this feels like a game that the Saints should have won to me. I don't know if that's what you thought, but
yeah, I don't know if it's just out of spite at this point, but I think I hate the Titans more than any other team in the league, and they've done nothing to me. And this was the game where I was especially when it came down to the wire, I was like, the Saints will win this game. They will be able to hit this 2-point conversion, and then they will able to beat the Titans in overtime, because I felt like they were there the entire game. And I know they got down by 2 possessions early on, but fuck, it just felt like the Saints were always in it.
They hung around. Yeah, they always felt like they were in it. But the Titans keep confirming my statement that they're for real. So I can't really be mad at them right now. And I know your anti-Titans are for real, but they're making me look good. So
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta say one thing: turnover luck. The Titans are getting graced by some wonderful, wonderful turnover luck. Because
Like
turnover
that
luck,
fumble. Oh,
well, because there was two fumbles that I want to key on, especially fumbles. Like when it's interceptions, really not much you could do about that because the ball doesn't bounce anywhere. It's like it's not either or.
yeah.
You either catch the interception or you don't. For
Yeah.
example, but with fumble, you don't know where the ball is going. That's kind of the beauty of the way the football is built, I guess, is that it's never going to roll forward or backwards. Um,
Yeah.
but
And that fumble was brutal. That one,
yeah,
I believe, at the end of the third quarter.
uh, yeah. Yeah, the two I wanted to key on are the first one was the fumble on the opening kick to open up the second half
Yeah.
because I think that was probably where the tide shifted in the game.
Yeah, you can't start the second half with a fumble on the kickoff. That's I meant to bring that up in shooting themselves in the foot, but that's just setting yourself up for failure.
Because the fact that it happens on I mean, God, it's also like a time thing. Like, imagine if, I don't know, there's just so much. I mean, that could have, once again, like we are talking about last week with the Browns and the Bengals, like a 14-point swing. It's kind of close to being a 14. I mean, it's not confirmed a 14-point swing because it could have ended in a field goal. But it's just when you do something like that to open up and you're so close to your own territory and it just flips all of a sudden.
I know, 19-yard line for them to, that's just giving them six. That's handing them six,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And then the other very bad fumble was Tannehill fumbling the snap with
Yep.
42 seconds left in the third. And then not only now, usually when a snap gets fumbled, it's more just for whatever reason, the way physics works, the ball always goes backwards.
Yeah.
I've never seen a ball get scooted forward 7 yards and then recovered for a first down.
No, no. That's, yeah, it's like, to quote the great John Rothstein, that's the epitome of brutality.
That's how you know. I'm sorry, turnover luck. And eventually not the Dolphins, the Titans will get boned by turnover luck. And then we'll look back and say, oh, so this team was exactly like 2019 Patriots.
And it's not going to happen until the playoffs. So I'm going to be high on the Titans, like bet on them to win a game, and then all the turnover luck's going to go against them in the playoffs,
Mhm.
and just get all my faith in them.
Mm-hmm. And then they also there was a big roughing the passer call on
Yeah.
Ryan or hands to the face. I don't even understand I don't even know if NFL refs understand human anatomy because forgetting who this Saints defender was, but he literally had his fingers on Tannehill, not Tannehill the person, but Tannehill the last name. Like, it's the most easy to spot part on a uniform because the back of the uniform, that's the only part where it's just letters.
Yeah, I just think every NFL ref needs to be swapped. Like, they should just do an entire, like, wife swap. They should do a ref swap where, like, ref maybe goes to college, and all the college refs, well, not that they're much better, but maybe they would be in the NFL, because I'm sick and tired of NFL refs.
Mm-hmm. It's getting awful at this point. It's problem with, I mean, it's literally going the opposite direction of the NBA.
Just horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to conclude with a little bit of Saints offense talk. So I would say I think Trevor Siemian is fine.
I think so too.
The way the division is, the Saints probably, you just have to kind of face facts. You guys will always be in the hunt, but you guys just won't catch up to the Bucks. But I think there is room for wild card.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because the Panthers also look really good. Now that they have Cam Newton, also that adds a whole other element to them. So it's kind of just like, we're gonna have to beat some of these teams head on, or else we're just gonna have to hope that out. So sorry that cut off, but what I was saying was, it looks like the Saints are gonna have to beat teams like the Panthers and the Bucks. They're gonna have to beat them in the head-to-head games, because it looks like they're gonna have to play for a wild card spot. They can't rely on those teams to lose to other teams. They can't rely on the chips to fall in their favor. They kind of have to force their hand and beat the Panthers and beat the Falcons and beat the Bucks. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna head more into the offense. And then after that, we're going to move on and end the episode with Vikings Chargers. So we're kind of talking about him earlier, but wanted to key in now. Let's talk some Trevor Siemian. So I've never seen a quarterback take faster sacks. It's like he either plops right to the ground, like he's in a catcher stance and goes that way. So he either goes straight down, or he spins away like a matador, but into the ground. It's actually like, so I guess he's the most efficient sack taker in the NFL, if there's a stat for that.
Well, because I just doesn't want to give the opposing player the satisfaction of like getting them on the ground and like them there. He wants it to be quick. So he just plops down, gets right back up, and he's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. So he's just safe. He's like the opposite of Jared Goff when he takes sacks.
Yeah, exactly. He is the opposite of Jared Goff. Yes.
And we saw in that fourth quarter, look, he can lead you down the field for points.
Yeah.
I don't really fault him for the 2-point conversion. The problem wasn't the play call or wasn't the actual play in it. It's the legal shift beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's not, I don't count that against Trevor Siemian. Specifically, I'm sure that there is part, but I don't think that's where the focus should be. But yeah, no. I was pretty impressed. And you're doing this with Kevin White as one of your targets.
Yeah, I mean, when Marcus Callaway and Traquan Smith and, you know, God, when that's your receiving core and you're able to keep tight in games against a 7-2 Titans team on the road, you got to be doing something right. So I definitely don't think Siemian is going to be enough to win multiple playoff games, but he's definitely going to be enough to make the wild card for sure.
Yeah, 25 to 30 points from him.
Yeah, he's going to, I think, you know, and with this defense, he doesn't have to put up 50 points a game. You know, if he can put up 24, I'm confident in the defense to hold the team to 21 or 17.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. All right. So now let's talk some Taysom Hill. I'm so confused. What does Sean Payton want to do with him? Is the whole point, is he just like some novelty item that you rarely want to break out so other people don't start stealing it, so it just stays novel?
Yeah, I don't know. But, and I know I'm kind of over him.
Come on.
Like, sure, he's the Swiss Army knife. He threw a pass today, he ran today, and he caught a pass today. It was like he threw for a first down, he ran for a first down, and he caught a pass for a first down today, which is all fine and good. But I don't know. Like, I just anytime the Saints are in a need to score position on the goal line, like we talked about earlier, you said, why didn't we use Taysom Hill there? And I was like, well, why didn't we use Mark Ingram? That's why we got him. It's like I would go when it comes to rushing, I would go to Kamara first, Ingram second, Hill third. You know, when it comes to throwing, I would trust Trevor Siemian to throw the ball before I would trust Taysom Hill to throw the ball.
But isn't it really cool when Taysom Hill runs a motherfucker over?
It is very cool when he does that.
I don't know. I just feel like he's really good at falling forward. It sounds dumb to say, but like he knows how to fall forward, and usually that should be enough to score when close down situations. So I think that you just have to kind of lean into there's no more zoom and boom. So now with before Kamara and Ingram was zoom and boom. And so now with Ingram and Hill, it just has to be boom and boom.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't know. I just don't think I don't know. I really don't know what to do.
Are you kind of done with the drama? It feels like somebody who's just kind of fed up with all the I don't say speculation around it, but there is like a lot of speculation into what goes on with the play calling. How is he going to be used like week after week, trying to predict what's going to happen, and then all the conversation around it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of where I'm at.
So you're pretty much just burnt out with talking about it.
Yeah, I'm burnt out on him. Let's just call it that. He's all fine and good for like a goal line play where you need to get it in from half a yard out. But outside of that, I don't know.
Because, I mean, Taysom, I think he's been on the team for like 4 years now.
Oh, yeah. He's been around for a while.
So, like, the period to try and figure out how to use him, it's kind of over.
Yeah.
It's like
we haven't figured it out by now. I don't think we're ever going to figure it out.
And maybe that's why it kind of works, because I really don't. The part that makes me not understand is that when you use them in the run game, you have success. Like his first run went for like 10, 12 yards. And then the second was for a little bit less. I don't think it was 10 yards, but it was enough for a first down. But then you don't have success on a third run with him and just abandon it completely. But like the first two successful runs were early in the game, so you have plenty of time. So I don't know if it's one of those things where you, as soon as you reveal it, then that's it. It's like the actual trick play of like, you can't run three flea flickers in the same game. It just doesn't work.
No, you're right. Yeah, just I don't know. I clearly don't know what to do with him. Can you tell? Like
I see.
He's just weird to me. I'm not in on the hype for him anymore.
All right. And then we're going to end the show with Chargers Vikings. Okay, so Kirk Cousins got stripped on the first possession of the game. I was like, okay, that's it. It's not purple purgatory. You're not going up. You're not going up into heaven. We're not going up into or onto earth and then back into hell. You're not going up and down. No, you are in hell forever. But then he picked it up after.
Yeah. These are the two hardest in the NFL to get. And they finally played because they lose games in incredible ways and they win games in incredible ways. They've been disappointing at times. They've been really good at times this year. So it's like, this was a matchup I was really looking forward to because, like I said, these are just two like weird teams in the way they've won and lost games. And this was one of those games that I wish would have ended in a tie, but I guess it's good that the Vikings won. It's good for their playoff hopes, and the Chargers in that weird AFC West still are alive. You know, it was just fascinating game, honestly.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of the opposite. I don't know. I had a different impression because it was the opposite of how I would thought it would end. It was a pretty standard ending. You know, it wasn't crazy. Like there was one big play that decides it, of a fumble that wasn't a fumble or a catch that wasn't a catch. There was, I mean, I know Staley challenged the Justin Jefferson call that was around the 2-minute warning, but no, that it was a very easy to see catch.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anything dumb. I would say it was a smart ending, but you were waiting for it. You're like on the edge of your seat saying, okay, well, what's the next moment that we can meme?
Exactly. Yeah. These are two teams where produce memes like that. They produce the most wild losses. So it was kind of just weird to see it be a normal game almost.
Yeah. And I think for the Vikings, it's very simple. Get it to Justin Jefferson, let Dalvin Cook cook.
Exactly. And I saw a tweet, I think, from like Adam Azer of CBS, where he was like, Dalvin Cook is the king of getting almost touchdowns on the goal line. Like they'll run it to him the first two plays. He'll get like 2 yards and then like half a yard, and then they'll just end up throwing it.
Dude, Dalvin Cook is the king of almost. On like both sides, on like good and like just kind of crazy plays, because there was one play, can't remember where it was, but like his knee was so close to touching the ground and it would have been a stop for the Chargers, and he was somehow able to keep it above when any one of us, okay, are not only would our knee be in the ground, but we'd be like balls deep in the ground. So he was able to survive that. But then on the flip side, he's always one tackle away from breaking a 60-yard run.
Exactly. Yeah, he's weird. He is the king of almost.
And then Justin Jefferson, absolute dog. He had 9 for 143 today. Such an alpha move. After one of his catches, he flipped the ball to Keenan Allen.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's kind of annoying that he didn't even have one of the 2 receiving touchdowns. It was Conklin who had 3 for 11 and 2 touchdowns. It's like Justin Jefferson's probably like, really? I went 9 for 143 and you couldn't in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it's just kind of, I guess maybe that was the strangest part.
I guess
maybe you could say, but like, yeah, it was a normal ass game.
Not what we expected from the Chargers and the Vikings, not in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only peculiar part about it was one, the Justin Jefferson flip to Keenan Allen, a little passing of the torch, or the opposite. And then it was just the Vikings fans packed out SoFi again. It's so, I mean, God, billions and billions of dollars were spent into SoFi just to have Justin Herbert cup his ears during his possessions.
Yeah, God, you got to feel bad for the Chargers. They don't have a home stadium. They play 17 road games.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like when you, and I kind of feel bad because I think Fox really, really leaned into it because there wasn't like 10 minutes that went by. Anytime there was a stoppage for like an injury or for a timeout, the camera immediately just went to random fans on the field dressing like Ragnarok.
Yeah, they were definitely like honing in on the fact that Minnesota fans traveled to SoFi.
Yeah, purple rain.
Yeah, no longer purple purgatory, purple rain.
But there'll still be purple purgatory because kind of looking at the division, the NFC North. Okay, well, the Packers now move on to 8-2, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the Vikings are just not, I just don't see them making the wild card. So I think it's just they're in a fucked spot. I'll be honest, they're just fucked because you won't be better than the Packers. And I don't think you'll make it to the wild card. So now you're not bad enough to blow, like we go back to this, not bad enough to blow everything up, not good enough where one piece will solve everything.
Yeah, exactly. And next week at home against Green Bay, they'll probably lose on like a last minute, would have been game winning field goal, but instead there was like a false start call that pushed it 5 yards back. And it isn't like the kick is short. Like Minnesota will lose in some wild way next week after finally getting a good win.
Or it'll just be a very boring game where the
Or
Packers
that.
will struggle because the Packers were awful on offense today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kept on getting the ball back. It's the only reason why they scored 3 times. But yeah, the Packers could have just a comeback and light, or I don't even know what I said before. Packers could light shit up, or they could do nothing, and the Vikings lose in a very boring game.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know that. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. I'm kind of looking forward to that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it looks like that'll be wrapping up today's episode. Do you have anything left?
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool. All right, so if you would like to follow myself on Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at MattWeiner20. If you'd like to follow Edward on his Instagram and Twitter, you can find him at Edward_Vento. And if you have no care in the world for anything we have to say, then make sure to follow OK Takes on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at OK Takes Pod. That is OKAY Takes Pod. OKAY Takes Pod. Takes 2 seconds and will help us tremendously. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and have a wonderful day.